Armin, after so many days, I have something for you from Imran Khan. Now, as you know, I used to be a massive fan of Imran Khan. I spent a lot of time, my liberal days, my post-atheist days, defending Imran Khan, thinking that he is, like he's lived in the West. He's a bit of a, he understands liberal values. He understands the West or the Western values or Enlightenment values. So when he goes to Pakistan, he's going to modernize people. But he regressed instead. Instead, when he went back, he himself became more conservative. And in the process, he's actually made what I would say what would have been otherwise liberalish, as liberals go in Pakistani societies, he's even turned them into more like, he's pushed them towards orthodoxy. So let me show you a clip, which is a sad clip. But before that, let me play another video of Imran Khan, that why for a very long period of time he's been called a Taliban Khan. Listen to this.
Enormous amount of influence on events in neighboring Afghanistan. Would you say to the Taliban running Afghanistan today to let the girls go to school?
What do you think his response would be?
Oh no, I think I'm going to be disappointed. I think he's going to say like is he going to say that he doesn't want to meddle in
the country's affairs? You're on the right path. You're on the right path. Yeah.
Look, Matt, look. Afghanistan has and Pakistan have a boundary border of 2,500 kilometers.
No, I'm talking about schools here, specific. I don't want to geography lesson.
I am answering the question.
What about schools? Will you tell them to let the girls go to school?
Because I know the Afghan character much more than anyone there, especially in the Western countries. They do not like to be told what to do. Let me just say, if the Western countries want to influence Afghanistan, this current government, they must mainstream them. I kept telling them that, look, engage them. Get them involved in the mainstream. If you isolate them, what influence are you going to have on them? So if you mainstream, then let them have a stake. So then talk about human rights. Right now, you push them in an isolation. The money is frozen. And why would they listen to anyone? So my advice is that, get them involved. Give them a stake in the international community, so that when you tell them to have girls educated, they will listen to you. Right now, they are not. And they react when you try and tell them anything, because who are you to interfere in our internal affairs?
What a coward! What a coward! That's not that was not the question. Okay, first of all, that's another debate on how to influence them. Okay. Now, if we want to influence them, can you say what direction you want to influence them? Would you tell them? This is the question. The question is not what are the best methods of having an impact on Taliban. It's like, okay, if we have the influence that we want on Taliban, what direction should we push them in? Can you say something as basic as women's education is important to Taliban? Can you say that, or are you going to answer a different question that that wasn't being asked? That's a cowardly way of just not answering the goddamn. I want to swear. Like the question, like, isn't that so he's criticizing the West for being too meddling, which is so hypocritical, because he also tells the West not to do. He tells the West not to draw cartoons. Like, do people come to you and tell you like, hey, why are you meddling in what France does, when you tell them that what they're doing is bigotry and Islamophobia? You are coming and having this campaign, this global campaign against Islamophobia, telling all the countries in the world that they have to respect your religion, and then you have the audacity to come and say to other countries that they shouldn't tell Taliban how to treat women, as if the Taliban owns the citizens. This whole not meddling in our country when it comes to human rights, shut the hell up. When it comes to human rights, governments do not own their citizens. So the human rights of humans... Let alone
governments like Taliban. Which are not
exactly.
Which haven't even been elected by the Afghan people.
the human rights of humans is every human's business, not just the government of a specific country.
But right? you talked about his hypocrisy. I have another video for you. Because those of you who haven't seen my blasphemy video, I got this excerpt for that video. Do check it out.
An open letter to leaders of Muslim states asking them to unite against Islamophobia, particularly in the West. Why did you feel the need to write that public letter?
See, so now why does he, as you said, okay, you don't want to meddle in Afghan affairs because they don't like it. Nobody likes getting told by, let alone by a third world country. And now you write open letter about Islamophobia, world Islamophobia, blah, blah, blah. I think his answer would be like, oh, the West is an open society, so they can be criticized. I think that's what he would say. It's the same hypocritical approach of Muslims, like Muslims living in the West.
But look at the difference. When you are trying to meddle in other people's, in other countries, you're trying to defend a prophet that is dead. Okay? You're talking about people drawing cartoons. That's your priority when meddling in other countries. When other countries want to meddle in Afghanistan, they're protecting humans. You're protecting a dead prophet. They're protecting living humans. See where the priorities, how different the priorities are?
Yeah. But listen to this hypocrisy.
The problem is there's this big communication gap between the Islamic world and the Western societies. It happened after 9/11, when the word Islamic terrorism came into currency. The moment you say Islamic terrorism, the man in the street in the West thinks that there's something in Islam which leads to terrorism, or Islam causes radicalism. After 9/11, any time some terrorist act went on where a Muslim was involved, the entire 1.3 billion Muslims started becoming targets.
Just across your border, in Western China, the Chinese government has imprisoned more than 1 million Uyghur Muslims in re-education camps. The Chinese government has tortured Muslims, forcibly sterilized them, and they've destroyed mosques in Xinjiang and also punished Muslims for fasting, praying, even giving Muslim names to their children. Prime Minister, why are you so outspoken about Islamophobia in Europe and the United States, but totally silent about the genocide of Muslims in Western China?
What our conversations have been with the Chinese, this is not the case, according to them.
The evidence is just overwhelming.
Whatever issues we have.
He knows this. That was his first way to just get out of that. But watch this. When he's going to be pressed, that is one of the stupidest answers you'll ever see.
With the Chinese, we speak to them behind closed doors.
By the way, when he made that statement, Armin, when he said that, we speak to them behind closed doors, this got picked up by the Chinese media. I think 4 or 5 Chinese journalists came to Pakistan and asked him, they interviewed him, and they said, like, what do you mean by you speak to them behind closed doors? And he said, no. I told them that I am satisfied with the Chinese narrative that there is no concentration camps or whatever. There's nothing happening to Uyghur Muslims. Oh my God. They actually put him in his place for even such a tiny statement that he made. But listen to this.
Wow.
China has been one of the greatest friends to us in our most difficult times. When we were really struggling, our economy was struggling, China came to our rescue. So
basically, I'm not going to criticize them. They paid us. They give us money. That's it. And then he just waffles on about other things. And it's not only just that. I want to play one more clip to you about this Pakistani hypocrisy, and then
look at the priorities. So it's not just like look at the priorities. Muslim ideas requires more protection. Islam requires protections, but Muslim lives are expendable. So even when it comes to Islam and Muslims, their priorities are so flawed. They will go defend their prophet, but when it comes to millions of Muslims, they will not defend them. They will throw Muslims under the bus for the sake of
But he said they pay us, they're helping us. And China has just approved another $58 billion infrastructure aid for Pakistan, and they're over the moon. They're just like jumping up and down. So that was a bit of a background information on Imran Khan. how hypocritical he is, how he changes his goalposts whenever it suits him. But as I said, back in the day, we were all charmed by Imran Khan, people like me. I had become an atheist back in 2007 or 8, but I still was in love with him or his personality, larger than life character, whatever, until he became the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So I have seen this degradation of Pakistani society because he is by far the most popular leader in Pakistan right now. But what worries me is that even people who you could see them as liberal Pakistanis, people who would not bring in religion into everything. Have a look at this video. Okay. All right, have a look at this.
सवाल बता दीजिए।
मेरा सवाल ये था कि खान साहब हम पाकिस्तान में और बाकी मुल्कों में हम अपना दीन इस्लाम जो है वो कैसे फैलाएं?
बहुत ही अच्छा सवाल है और हम खान साहब के सामने ये सवाल आपका रखेंगे।
So basically, even that kid, well, the point I want to make, this is his mum. No hijab, no dupatta, no traditional clothes. Look at the girl behind. That is not, even by Pakistani standards, even by Western standards, you look at him, you see that these are some watching soccer mums or something, you know, like they're not, religion is the last thing on their mind. But it would be, to just on a very trivial sense. This kid is from, you know, upper middle class by the looks of it. His mum, if you look at him, you know, she's like a classic, but even he is concerned about how are we going to spread Islam. And I've spoken with, I am in touch with a lot of these people. I'm in touch with a lot of these people who follow Imran Khan and who used to have, you know, pro-Western, enlightened views, not so dogmatically religious, but as you might have seen, he's always holding this bead in his hands, you know, like the tasbih. I don't know what it's called in English, like they just do beads. Yeah. He always portrays this image as a man of God, and he always brings up the way he brings up God in every speech. I've never seen any other Pakistani politician before him. So I think it's just one of the great intellectuals of Pakistan, Dr. Pervez Hoodboy, who's a physicist, taught in MIT as well, probably the only true intellectual of Pakistan. I spoke to him a few years ago, and he said, and at that time I used to like Imran Khan. I'm talking about like maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and he said he's going to be worse. He's going to be proven worse for Pakistan than Ziaul Haq. I was like, get out of here. He's actually right, because Ziaul Haq was not popular amongst people. Imran Khan is very popular. So what he says, it touches people's hearts. And as you see, these kids are going to be there for another 60 years. So yeah. I hope something changes, but this is just very heartbreaking. And to make matters worse, Taliban, TTP, have also ramped up their attacks against Pakistan. Now, this country is so confused. They're still going, the Pakistani military is still trying to get them in the conversation of the good Taliban versus the bad Taliban. And Imran Khan is a big proponent of that. Good Taliban and the bad Taliban.
Well, you know, Harris, one thing I admire about you is you constantly going and checking your views from a long time ago and people telling you that you were wrong, and you dig them up and you were like, oh, I used to think this and I was so wrong. Usually your enemies do that. Your enemies go and dig deep, go find things that you were wrong about and come and show it to people to do a gut shoot. But you did this to yourself, which is pretty.
Yeah, I mean, for that, for me, but for me to convince myself that I was right 8 years ago, but then I would have to like Imran Khan today. Now that is a bigger. That is more uncomfortable thing for me to do than admitting, I was wrong 8 years ago.
No, but I just admire how comfortable you are with just.
There's nothing wrong with that. I never understood how people see that's wrong, I never understand why people feel that is a point of embarrassment. I see that people initially make fun of you, like because I've made a couple of tweets as well where I'm like, I said this a few years ago and I was wrong. And they're like, oh, how do we know you're not wrong this time? Like, yeah, well, nobody knows. I guess time will tell. More information, more information, more facts, more data would prove me wrong. And then I'll say, I'm sorry, I was wrong again. But you don't have those facts at the moment. So shut the hell up and go and sit down over there and just cope with what I'm saying.
No, I just hope that you keep normalizing just admission of being wrong. It's so, I think people sometimes think it's weak to show that, to mention that you were wrong, but I actually think that it's a sign of strength of how comfortable you are. And I think like you demonstrating how easy it is for you to do it, I just hope that you have an influence on your audience to recognize, normalize that for them.
I think Pakistani and Indian people, like as I said, my channel views are steady at around 1 million views a month, and on my Urdu channel, a lot of Indians and Pakistanis watch it. And I think, I have been consistently saying that for a very long time. I say, I understand politicians and lawyers. Lawyers are paid to be right. They can't afford to be wrong. And they have to prove their track record of being right. They can't afford to say, oh, I was wrong 8 years ago. So that's why, and because most lawyers end up becoming politicians, and politicians also can't afford to be wrong or admit that they were wrong. That's why I think it's become that they've normalized this fact. But if you look at it conversely, academics, I'm not an academic, by the way, but academics all the time say that, oh, we were wrong. Scientists always say, oh, we were wrong, and then their theory was replaced by someone else. So people, it's very normalized, but I think it's about time that we start normalizing it amongst people, because people don't read or listen to scientists. People listen to their favorite politicians more, because, and I think that's where it comes from. I mean, our ordinary people pick that up from politicians that, oh, no, I can't be wrong. I'm not going to admit that I'm wrong.